Look like Shedeur Sanders is back on the practice field, man, after coming off an oblique injury. He was out of commission for about a week, man. Now, it's no guarantee that he will start or even play Saturday, but just to see him back in practice make me feel a hell of a lot better. I will tell you that, knowing this whole situation that is happening with the Cleveland Browns. Now, footage was released of him at practice, and Kevin Stefanski talked to the media. With all that being said,
what if everything we've been told over the last week was nothing more than a smokescreen? What if the injury updates, the quiet sidelines, and the media silence all pointed to one thing? Not a problem, but a plan. Something strange just happened at a Cleveland Browns practice, and it has everyone, from league insiders to die-hard fans, asking the same question. Why isn't Shedeur Sanders already leading this team? After being sidelined with what the team called a minor oblique issue, Sanders stepped back onto that field and didn't just train. He turned the entire practice upside down. Players stopped mid-drill to watch him. Coaches stood frozen. And every whispered rumor about him not being ready suddenly didn't hold up. But this performance did more than silence critics. It exposed something deeper. A decision the Browns may have made behind closed doors. A decision that's keeping their most explosive talent in the shadows.
Well, guys, we got to talk about it, man. I'm here to tell you, man, all the reports that I've got, everything that people have sent to me, every little X clip, every little social media clip says Shedeur Sanders left Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns speechless today after practice. Now, we know Shedeur has been hampered, as they say, with an oblique injury.
Because let's be clear, what happened today wasn't normal. It wasn't typical. It wasn't even expected. It was lightning in a bottle. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So now the question is, were we being misled from the very start? When the Browns first announced that Shedeur Sanders was dealing with an oblique injury, nobody thought twice. It's preseason. Minor injuries happen. But as the days ticked by and shallow updates trickled out, something started to feel off. No medical details, no visible treatment, no interviews. And then, just as quickly as he disappeared, Sanders was back on the field, moving like nothing had happened at all. Here's why that matters. Oblique injuries usually come with obvious signs: limited mobility, hesitation on throws, reduced torque on deep passes. But none of that showed up when Sanders returned. No grimace, no soft lobs, no holding back. He stepped in and threw lasers like he'd never missed a single rep.
When he went out there and played the Carolina Panthers, that's why I say, man, it's smoke and mirrors, man. It's a lot of lies going around about Shedeur Sanders and the reason why he's not getting reps. But he's taking advantage of all the opportunities he's getting in training camp and in practice. And what he did today, man, they said, man, he was looking spectacular. And we still haven't heard word on Kenny Pickett. I mean, is he going to suit up? Is he going to get some time?
And that's when the whispers started. Reports began circulating that maybe Sanders was never truly injured in the first place. That this so-called setback might have been more about optics than physical health. Was this just a clever way for the Browns to slow play his rise? Remove the pressure? Build suspense while protecting veteran egos? Because if today's practice showed us anything, it's that this man isn't playing catch-up. He's been ready, and some believe the team knew it all along. But of course, throwing in warm-ups is one thing. Dominating the entire practice field, that's an entirely different story. And what happened next left everyone at Browns camp speechless. From the moment Shedeur Sanders stepped onto the practice field, something shifted. Not gradually, not quietly. Instantly. There's this energy great quarterbacks bring. Something that doesn't show up on stat sheets, but changes the entire atmosphere. And that's exactly what happened.
Franchise is.
But today was all about Shedeur. Like, you listen to some of these podcasters, and you listen to some of these Cleveland radio analysts, man, they was talking about how Shedeur looked out there. And that's why I think Tony Rizzo is so upset, because you have to give this man an opportunity. You have to give Shedeur Sanders an opportunity. When he gets an opportunity, he knows how to play. He's a flat-out baller, man. He is an NFL quarterback.
According to insiders, the noise stopped. Conversations paused. Teammates, many of whom have seen years of NFL action, literally turned their heads and started watching. Coaches didn't coach. They just stared. And as the ball started zipping out of Shedeur's hand, it became clear. This wasn't some rookie working back from an injury. This was a takeover. He wasn't just accurate. He was surgical. Dropbacks looked effortless. Throws came out tight and heavy. And when receivers got separation, Sanders hit them in stride with precision you'd expect from a 10-year vet. Even on tough sideline routes, throws that most rookie QBs hesitate to try, he let it rip. The velocity, the timing, the confidence. It didn't just silence the doubters. It stunned the entire Browns facility. Then came the viral clips. Leaked footage hit social media within hours, showing Shedeur delivering dimes from multiple angles. Red zone, deep balls, play action resets. Fans online weren't just impressed, they were confused. Hadn't this guy just had a major oblique problem? Wasn't he supposed to be limited? Instead, we saw a quarterback letting it fly like it was mid-season. But what raised the most eyebrows wasn't the film. It was what wasn't said afterward. Stefanski didn't gush. He didn't redirect. He kept things vague. Analysts noticed. Fans noticed. Something about the whole reaction felt muted. Almost strategic. And that's what made the moment feel bigger than just one good day in camp. It felt like a curtain had been pulled back, and everyone suddenly saw something they weren't supposed to. But it wasn't just the throws that had people talking. It was who noticed them. As footage of Shedeur Sanders lighting up the Browns practice field exploded online, NFL insiders began weighing in, and they weren't holding back. League scouts, anonymous team executives, and even a few former players started dropping quiet reactions on Twitter, podcasts, and Reddit threads. And the message? This kid isn't just good. He's way ahead of schedule. One AFC scout reportedly said, "That didn't look like a rookie coming off an injury. That looked like a starter mid-season form." Another analyst hinted that Cleveland may be sitting on a hidden gem they won't be able to hide for much longer. But the real momentum started when the local media, those plugged-in Cleveland podcasters and beat writers, shifted their tone. Just days ago, they were downplaying Shedeur's chances, brushing off comparisons to QB1, and pushing the standard rookie development narrative. Now, they're walking it back, fast, and that's causing a stir. Take Tony Rizzo, an outspoken Cleveland radio personality who recently went on air fuming about how Shedeur was being handled. His tone was clear. If the Browns really want to win, they better stop pretending this guy's not QB material. Because in his words, everybody saw what happened. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. Even inside NFL circles, questions have started swirling. Was the injury exaggerated to buy the team time? Did the front office not want to ruffle feathers with veterans? Or is this simply a calculated rollout? Strategic, controlled, deliberate? Because if what we saw at practice is even 80% real, the Browns are sitting on a major quarterback controversy disguised as a development phase. But what really hammers this home? The reactions inside the building. Because when the veterans start talking, you know something real is happening. In the NFL, respect isn't handed out, it's earned. And when you've got veterans, the kind who've played under pressure, through injuries, and in playoff atmospheres, stopping mid-practice to watch a rookie throw, that means something. One name keeps surfacing in all these reports. Myles Garrett, a leader, a tone setter, one of the most respected players in that locker room. And according to several sources, even he was seen openly impressed by Shedeur Sanders' performance. That's not just media spin. That's the kind of moment players talk about behind closed doors. Insiders are saying the vibe was different. Tight ends running harder routes. Receivers staying just a second longer in drills, trying to make that highlight catch while Sanders was under center. Offensive linemen snapping into position with purpose. Not because they were told to, but because they felt something. That's what happens when a quarterback has presence. And quarterback presence isn't about stats or draft position. It's about control, pace, confidence, and most importantly, how everyone else responds when you're under center. With Shedeur, the energy lifted. That's not normal for a third-string rookie. That's something special. Even whispers from defensive coaches reportedly noted how crisp and decisive his reads looked post-snap. One assistant apparently joked, "He's not acting like he missed practice. He's acting like he owns it." Little comments like that don't come out unless someone truly leaves an impact. This isn't a guy earning respect over time. This is someone pulling respect from the room the second he steps on the field. And that is gotta be setting off alarms inside the Browns coaching staff. Because once the locker room starts leaning toward a young QB, it's only a matter of time before the team follows. And that's the problem the Browns suddenly have. Because while the coaching staff is still giving vague updates, the players, they've seen enough. But here's the twist. While everyone's talking about what happened on the field, something even stranger is happening off the field. Here's where things start to feel calculated. While the momentum around Shedeur Sanders is clearly growing inside the locker room, outside, the Browns coaching staff remains oddly quiet. Head coach Kevin Stefanski held a press conference after the now viral practice. And when asked directly about Shedeur's performance, he didn't give praise. He didn't deny anything either. He pivoted, gave short, rehearsed answers like, "He looked good. We'll see how things go later in the week." That's it. Compare that to how most teams handle a breakout rookie. Usually, coaches lean into it, especially during preseason. They hype up their young guys. They talk about development, upside, and how excited they are. But this, it feels like the Browns are actively trying not to shine a spotlight. Almost like they're hoping the noise dies down. And that alone raises questions. Because while Stefanski and the front office are staying conservative with their public statements, inside that facility, the noise is getting louder by the day. Players talking behind the scenes, assistants sneaking quiet praise, media insiders catching glimpses of small moments that contradict the company line. There's a growing gap between what the Browns say and what their actions suggest. If Shedeur were just an average rookie, this silence might make sense. But when a quarterback steps into practice and immediately commands attention, raises the performance of everyone around him, and becomes the sole topic of discussion in media circles, you don't just gloss over that, unless you're trying to control the rollout. Some NFL insiders now believe this is intentional. The silence isn't dismissal, it's strategy. Shedeur might already have the locker room, but the coaching staff doesn't want it to look like he's getting handed the job. Not this early. Not over high-paid veteran players with egos and reputations on the line. And that brings us to the central theory that's gaining steam fast. Maybe this injury wasn't real at all. Maybe it was just the Browns playing chess when everyone else thought it was checkers. At this point, it's hard to avoid the elephant in the room. If Shedeur Sanders is healthy, if he's outperforming the competition, and if his teammates are responding to him like he's already the leader, why isn't he being positioned as the Browns' starting quarterback? The answer might have less to do with talent and everything to do with politics. Welcome to the NFL, where quarterback rooms aren't just about skill. They're about contracts, seniority, media optics, and locker room dynamics. And Shedeur? He doesn't fit the traditional script. He's not a first-round pick. He's not the veteran you spent millions on. And he's definitely not the developmental project coaches love easing into a backup role for a season. He's a disruptor. Think about it. You've got Kenny Pickett, a former first-rounder, still trying to prove he belongs. You've got Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl MVP with veteran presence, but declining physical ability. you've got Dylan Gabriel, another young guy, drafted higher than Shedeur, now standing in the shadows. If Sanders leapfrogs all of them overnight, the front office has to answer for every other decision, investment, and draft board they've carefully built. So maybe the oblique injury wasn't about health. It was about timing. A way to cool down the buzz, create a controlled return, and allow the coaching staff to save face by slowly building the narrative that he's earning it, rather than stealing it. From a strategic perspective, it makes sense. Handing the keys to a rookie, especially one with as much spotlight and legacy as Shedeur Sanders, carries backlash if it's seen as premature or impulsive. But staging a delayed breakout? That's PR gold. Let the vets get their snaps, let the talking heads debate, and then, boom, Shedeur returns and dominates. Now you've got the storyline you wanted. He earned it through adversity. Neatly packaged, carefully marketed, damage controlled. The only issue? He might have forced their hand too early. Because this week's practice didn't look like a patient progression. It looked like a quarterback kicking down the door. But politics aside, there's one thing Shedeur Sanders is already proving better than anyone else in that locker room. Leadership. And that's not something you can fake or hide for long. Athleticism can get you drafted. Talent can get you noticed. But in the NFL, leadership is what makes you indispensable. And that's where Shedeur Sanders quietly separates himself from every other quarterback on the Browns roster. Watch how his teammates interact with him. They don't just listen, they respond. When Shedeur steps into the huddle, the energy shifts. Guys run routes sharper. They hustle to reset lines. Even the sidelines stay a little quieter, almost like they're watching something they don't want to miss. That's not about hype or highlights. That's about command. What makes this even more impressive? He's doing it without being handed anything. No guaranteed snaps. No post-practice press conferences with catered questions. Just raw performance and teammates who can't ignore what they're seeing. Behind the scenes, team insiders are saying Sanders spends extra time in the film room. He's studying defenses, learning adjustments, and even coaching up younger receivers between drills. That kind of mental edge matters more than people think. Because it's not about throwing the flashiest deep ball. It's about building trust and winning guys over. It's easy to forget that at Colorado, Shedeur didn't just show up. He transformed that offense, made average players look elite, turned backups into national names. Travis Hunter didn't become a top draft pick in a vacuum. He became a star under Shedeur's leadership and precision. That same effect is starting to show in Cleveland, and veterans are noticing it. He's not loud. He's not flashy, but he has that rare quality coaches pray for. People play better around him. Whether he's under center, talking on the sideline, or making reads during a no-huddle drill, Sanders raises the standard. Not because he talks about it, but because he lives it. And that's exactly why the Browns coaching staff may be losing their grip on this rollout plan. Because the moment a team believes in a guy, not just his skill, but his presence, there's no going back. You can't coach chemistry, and you can't delay momentum when the locker room's already bought in. But all of this raises one last question that Browns fans and the league need to be asking right now. This week's practice didn't just change the outlook for Shedeur Sanders. It may have altered the entire trajectory of the Browns' 2025 season. Because now the organization has a choice to make. And it's not as simple as they hoped. Do they stick with veterans out of loyalty? Or do they ride with the rookie everyone is already rallying behind? Either way, they're running out of time to stay neutral. The moment fans, teammates, and analysts all begin echoing the same sentiment, that Shedeur looks like the guy, keeping him off the field stops looking like strategy and starts looking like sabotage. The Browns can release all the carefully worded updates they want. They can craft press conferences and play it safe. But what they can't do anymore is pretend he isn't ready. Kenny Pickett is still working his way back with unknown timelines. Joe Flacco is, at best, a short-term placeholder. Dylan Gabriel, talented, but clearly outshined. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is standing right there, already commanding the field, increasing his teammates' performance and building trust in real time. He's checking all the intangible boxes and roasting defense units in practice on top of that. The Browns may have wanted a slow build, a well-paced rollout, but now that the locker room has seen what Shedeur can do, and the footage has made its way onto every football analyst's desk, that slow play suddenly looks like a delay the team can't afford. Because if there's one thing Cleveland fans know, it's false hope. They've dealt with it for years. Overhyped veterans, draft picks that never panned out, quarterbacks who couldn't lead, couldn't throw, or worse, couldn't win. And now, when they finally have a guy who seems real, you better believe they'll demand action. The Browns are standing in front of a loaded quarterback room, but only one of them feels like the future. So the real question isn't just, is Shedeur ready? That part may already be answered. The question now is, how much longer can the team afford to keep their most promising player off the field before the pressure becomes undeniable? What we're witnessing with Shedeur Sanders isn't just a rookie impressing in preseason. It's the quiet beginning of something much bigger. A shift, a turning point, maybe even the early signs of a quarterback revolution in Cleveland. Because this isn't just about one good practice. It's not about a few viral clips or some overzealous fans. It's about a player stepping into a professional locker room and immediately showing every measurable and unmeasurable quality of a franchise quarterback. And yet, he's still not the starter. Why? That's the question everyone's dancing around, but nobody's answering. Maybe it's politics. Maybe it's loyalty. Maybe it's just fear of moving too fast. But here's what's certain. Every day the Browns wait to hand Shedeur Sanders the keys. They're risking more than a couple early season wins. They're risking momentum, chemistry, and maybe even the confidence of a locker room that's already seen who gives them the best shot. You can't put lightning back in the bottle. You can't ask players to unsee what they witnessed on that practice field. And you definitely can't ask fans to be patient when every snap Sanders doesn't take feels like wasted time. The Browns have tried the veteran route. They've tried the cautious approach. They've tried to manage the narrative. But now, with footage spreading, insider whispers growing louder, and Cleveland beginning to buzz with one name, it's clear that strategy won't hold much longer. The smoke and mirrors phase is over. Shedeur Sanders is healthy, he's confident, he's dangerous, and he's ready. So now it's on the Browns. Will they seize the moment or cling to safety while their future sits on the bench? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is it finally time for the Browns to unleash Shedeur Sanders before someone else writes the next chapter for him? And if you're as hooked on this rising quarterback story as we are, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because the Shedeur Sanders era is just beginning. And the rest of the NFL, they're not ready.